What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, a shocking announcement was made. One of the most valuable revenue-generating titles is changing hands, and this has caused quite the back and forth online if this is actually good for the game going forward, but we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium as those titles were revealed, and there's one game in particular I think now everyone who has the service should at least try out. And then we have Microsoft, who is on a roll right now for 2025, releasing a bunch of games into Game Pass, yes, but just in general on other platforms. And now it looks like we could have another big release that's actually coming sooner than we were thinking. We'll go over all of that here today. Guys, if you enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or the link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with actually some new game reveals that were surprising to see, but also somewhat deflating for people when they realized where it would be available, as there's a new Katamari Damacy game that's it's on Apple Arcade. We can see this post up over on their site with the announcement. That is Katamari Damacy Rolling Live. It's the Katamari franchise's first original game in nearly 8 years, and it launches exclusively on Apple Arcade. Well, there you go. I mean, hey, if you really want to play this new Katamari game, I mean, you can sign up for Apple Arcade for a month and play it. Or who knows, if you've bought an Apple product in the last year, you might actually have a free trial to Apple Arcade just sitting around that you don't even know about. So you could technically do that. Now, again, April 3rd, this will be live along with Space Invaders Infinity Gene Evolve, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic Plus, that's enhanced for iPhone and iPad, The Game of Life 2 Plus, and Sesame Street Mecha Builders with a plus sign. Okay, sure, why not there? But yeah, obviously the big one, a new Katamari game, the first original title in 8 years in the franchise. Just got to make sure you have Apple Arcade at least for a month to try it out. The nice thing though with Apple Arcade games, I will say, is they don't have any kind of microtransactions or nothing like that. It is that situation of you start up the game and it's just the game. You get the whole thing just on their subscription service. Also, we had an interesting reveal yesterday, and that's a game called Wild Blue, which Star Fox fans are at least gonna want to keep their eyes on this one, as we had a trailer that was shown here. And this is coming way of a studio called Chuhai Labs, and that's actually Giles Goddard's indie game studio. Now, Goddard was one of the programmers on the original Star Fox game, and of course now a lot of people are looking at this because the way that they presented it in that trailer was, oh, we can't say Star Fox technically, has to be redacted, but if you look at the game, look at the concept, I mean, yeah, it's Star Fox. It's like the spiritual successor kind of to some of those older Star Fox games, and we haven't had one of those more traditional Star Fox games in quite some time. So at this time, they just had some screenshots of it, no gameplay footage, and the screenshots, they look kind of generic, I will say that, although I guess there's only so much you can do to kind of dress up that style of game, but again, a few screenshots. We need to see more about this one, and they currently have it up as a wish list on Steam, a way to kind of keep track of it, of course. I'll keep an eye on it as well, just to see what exactly comes from this. Oh, and I have good news for Palworld players who would like to play with other consoles. Well, it looks like they will have a Crossplay update going live soon. We can see this over on their official account, where they say Palworld's Crossplay update coming in late March, so I guess in a week or two. Multiplayer across all platforms, and world transfer for PALs. To celebrate the update, Palworld, there you go, is 25% on the PlayStation Store and Steam. They say don't miss it, with a little present icon. Anyway, I mean, crossplay for something like this, it was surprising it wasn't there from the start, but it was an early access game from the start, even on Xbox, so it still has popularity, not like how it was when it first came out, but it was also a game that they were selling outright as well, so them having so many players also equates to quite a bit of money, and they've continued to update it as they've gone along, and they're even publishing full games now, and it seems like it's really taken their entire business model to the next level just because of this one release. So hey, crossplay, be able to transfer pals, all of that, it's good news. Look out for the update later on this month. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with a massive announcement yesterday, and that's that Pokemon Go, along with other Niantic gaming properties, are actually being sold off. And, well, they're going in a different direction that we'll get to here in a minute. But first, let's head over here. This was posted over on the Financial Times, where they say Scopley, the Saudi-owned developer behind hit mobile game Monopoly Go, has agreed to a $3.5 billion deal to acquire Pokemon Go and a handful of other apps from creator Niantic. The deal will give Scopley, which was acquired by Saudi-owned Savvy Games Group in 2023 for $4.9 billion, a total audience of, get this, more than 500 million players, driven by the huge success of Monopoly Go. That game is very popular on mobile, by the way. I know we don't really talk about mobile stuff here much, but that's consistently at like the top of the charts, and it's one of those games that I'm sure makes stupid amounts of money from the microtransactions, but that's just those mobile games for you. That is an audience that has completely bought in, no pun intended, to being nickel and dime for turns even in a game. John Hank is the Niantic's founder and chief executive, said its new venture called Niantic Spatial was working on maps that make the world intelligible for machines, from smart glasses to robots. Niantic is building the models that will help AI move beyond the screen and into the real world, he said. Which, that is something that's been mentioned by NVIDIA, has mentioned that quite a bit. I know at Tesla, they're doing like their robots and stuff. That's basically anything with AI right now. The idea is mapping out the world so that we can have AI take on physical forms, robots, cars, etc. And then they can kind of explore the world and in turn continue mapping out that world. It's gonna be interesting. Hey, Skynet right around the corner. But just because of what Niantic has done here with things like Pokemon Go or Pikmin Bloom, or they had like the Monster Hunter game and stuff, like there's a lot of stuff that they've done here that has really gathered real world data for years and years now, and it looks like they're going to lean into what I assume would be a very, very lucrative sector for them with all that information. They want to say Scopley will continue to share some player data from its games as part of a technology licensing deal, alongside a $50 million investment in Niantic Spatial, which will also be capitalized using the $200 million or so of its former parent's balance sheet. Niantic's existing investors, who do include Nintendo, Google, and others, will receive $3.5 billion in proceeds from the sale, as well as $350 million previously held on the company's balance sheet, and will also become shareholders in that AI spinoff. So interesting. Nintendo, I mean, just kind of inadvertently becoming more and more involved with AI just from this the Niantic's Niantic Spatial, what they're doing there. Okay, something to keep an eye on for that one. But when it comes back to Pokemon Go, people are back and forth on this. Is this a good thing for the game? Well, from what I'm gathering, it seemed like some longtime fans of Pokemon Go were kind of feeling like Niantic was, I don't want to say checking out, but being less interested in the gaming side and more interested in the technology side. And that's proven to be correct with what they're doing here, this kind of a move, where they want to move off of the idea of developing Pokemon Go and move into the idea of developing more for AI in the real world. And I guess in that aspect, okay, Scopley comes in. Again, the thing there is they're Saudi funded, and that's a whole thing too when it comes to a lot of the moral side of things here. But really, for Pokemon Go fans and players, they want to know what's going to happen with the game. And apparently the same team is sticking around. And okay, so we've seen this before with studios that get purchased or games or licensing that changes hands. You might have that same group of people, but then they may move on after that because it's not necessarily the leadership that they had come up with and they had good ties with and stuff. It could be completely different and it just clashes with their typical developments. And now what? Well, they move on. They take some kind of buyout, or they retire, or they just leave and go somewhere else. So that's gonna be the question now. Are they able to keep that same core development team together and continue creating for Pokemon Go? Because, I mean, it's turnkey at this point. If they just don't mess with the thing, it'll work. And really, if you look at Monopoly Go, that still works because they're not really messing with it much. But it's also extremely, they definitely like their monetization, we'll say, in a lot of their games, Scopley. So we'll see if they mess around with some of the monetization in Pokemon Go. At least for now, though, it looks like Niantic is off to other ventures with AI, and Pokemon Go is off with Scopley and the Savvy Game Group. and we'll see what happens there. But let me know, especially if you're a Pokemon Go fan, a longtime player, how do you feel about this? And is that a thing were people starting to wonder if Niantic was kind of falling out of just gaming in general with Pokemon Go, just based on some of the actions they were doing with recent updates? Next up, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers, as we had all the games that were unveiled here for March that were posted over on PlayStation Blog, which you can see here. Now, these will be live March 18th. And we'll start at the top here with UFC 5 on the PS5, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, PS4 and PS5. This is the game I had mentioned before that I feel like everyone who has the service should at least try. It's a very good 2D, kind of 3D at times, right? Metroidvania style game, and it's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. It sold okay, but I don't know if Ubisoft was thinking, oh, 5-6 million copies, easy. 2D games, they kind of go through it a bit when it comes to like even as $50. People go, it's 2D. We'll see. I'll wait. And with Ubisoft, you mix that in, well, their games will be $20 in a few months. It wasn't easy for Lost Crown to even sell the, couple million that it did. So at the very least, I recommend people try it out here. If you have the service, click that download button. We have Captain Tsubasa: Rise of New Champions on PS4, Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation Code Fairy, PS4 and PS5, Arcade Paradise for PS4 and PS5. Apparently that's like I guess a sim or management style game with arcade. When I looked it up, it had like washing machines. I assume you're going to convert that into an arcade over time. So an interesting concept, if nothing else. Bang on Balls Chronicles, it's PS4 and PS5. You Suck at Parking, that's the name of the game here, PS4 and PS5. And then Siberia: The World Before on PS4 and PS5. Moving up to PlayStation Plus Premium, we do have a PSVR title, which is just Arcade Paradise VR, so there you go. And then the classic titles. Check this out. It's Armored Core, it's Armored Core Project Phantasma, and then it's Armored Core Master of Arena. So I was thinking they might space those out a bit, because they already told us, remember in that State of Play, that all these Armored Core games were showing up at some point in time in the future. Turns out it was all happening like a month or so later in March. I didn't know if it'd be like, okay, Armored Core here, then we'll do another one a month later. Nope, just all at once, just boom, shotgun blast of Armored Core, which, I mean, that's pretty cool to see that. Just Armored Core has, of course, seen a resurgence with the latest one, Fires of Rubicon, awesome game, but these aren't necessarily going to live up to that. They're a little more clunky, we'll say. It's early days for Armored Core, but again, if you're just curious to see some of the roots of the franchise, there you go. It'll be on PlayStation Plus Premium March 18th, along with a bunch of other titles, and again, maybe give Prince of Persia a shot to see what you think. Next up, let's talk about a big-time release from Microsoft that could actually be coming sooner than expected, and that's that Oblivion remake that's been rumored for quite some time now, but it seems like plans are coming into focus currently, and we can see this posted up. This is over on Video Games Chronicles. And they say the Oblivion remake was first mentioned by an alleged developer back in 2023 before being named in a leaked court document the same year. Yeah, it didn't really help matters if you're trying to keep that under wraps, of course, but a lot of stuff came out in like the FCC case and stuff, so it's tough when that happens. But in this case, it's something we've been expecting for quite some time now, and it appears we're actually closer than we thought. See, they say, now according to noted insider Nate the... What? Okay. We have to do that. We have to do an Xbox podcast here soon now if he's just throwing this kind of stuff around. The Oblivion remake is set for reveal in the coming weeks, a claim VGC has corroborated with our own sources. Nate claims the game will likely release before June, while sources have told VGC it could arrive as early as, get this, next month, in April. Which, okay, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, Microsoft. You said you couldn't release Avowed at the end of last year because there was just too much coming out. The amount of content Microsoft is releasing right now is like stunning. I mean, if you look at their 2025 just in the first half of the year, they have a lot of stuff not only going to Game Pass, but also going onto the PlayStation 5. I mean, we're talking about Forza Horizon 5, and then apparently Indiana Jones is going to come out before Forza Horizon 5 in April, and now we're hearing about Oblivion Remake that could also be coming out in April. And it seems like that would be like a multi-platform, really, just based on the way Microsoft is going right now, and the fact that's like Bethesda's. Yeah, it'd probably be on the PlayStation, Xbox, And then on PC, at Switch 2, it's hard to say. We really need to get the April 2nd event before we can start talking about some of these ports and how likely they are to be there. But at the bare minimum, Xbox, PlayStation, PC. I looked at April, and the only week I see where we could actually have that happen, it's like right in the middle of the month. Because remember, there's South of Midnight, there's Clair Obscur, we're talking about Forza Horizon, we're talking about Indiana Jones. I mean, they're just dropping games everywhere. By the way, Oblivion Remake feels like to me anyway, feels like a big release. It's been a while since Oblivion came out. That was, 6 months after the Xbox 360 came out in 2006. So it's 19 years since that release. It should be substantially better, I assume, in terms of gameplay, visuals, etc. But that feels like one that should be a bit more celebrated, a bit more of a build up to it. That very well could be a situation of they do a developer direct and it's a shadow drop. Like, that's it. Hey, it's available right now on Game Pass, like they did with Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Okay, we'll do it with Oblivion Remake as well. This being Virtuos, it seems like it's something that should be, I assume, higher quality. Maybe that situation we saw with Ninja Gaiden 2 where it's kind of like the base game, and then they overlay it with stuff from Unreal Engine, and to me, that worked out really, really well. So this is exciting stuff that we could actually be like potentially a month away from Oblivion Remake coming out. I figured it would try to line up in May or early June, but hey, I'll take it coming out in the next 30 days because Oblivion would be awesome to see remade with newer visuals, the whole thing. So that's pretty exciting. We'll keep an eye on this going into April. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a discovery from Nintendo coming out of Alarmo, interestingly enough. Yeah, look, Alarmo, I know it's not really something that people are jumping up and down when they see announcements that it's going into retail stores, but there was a very thorough teardown that happened with iFixit. They even like X-rayed the thing and stuff, but they found one part of it that's kind of interesting going into Switch 2 territory, okay? So this we can see over on Nintendo Everything, where they say the Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo teardown shows it has Switch 2 rumored tech Hall effect sensor. Now, they throw Switch 2 in there because there's belief that we would have Hall effect sensors in the Joy-Cons, specifically for the joysticks themselves. And in the Alarmo, the top dial works with magnets or Hall effect sensors, so there's no real friction, say, between materials inside when you're turning the dial to navigate the menu. And it makes a lot of sense for longevity of something that is it's a much more expected and kind of linear movement on it. You're just rotating it around, and in that case, it'd be just around a point where it's circling around, if you could picture that, with a magnet on top, and it's a bit easier to kind of track and figure out where placement is. Whereas with a joystick, there are a few other things that can happen there, and of course, you want to be able to click the joystick as well. And who knows, Nintendo might even have some other crazy ideas that we don't know about with the joystick yet. But nonetheless, the fact that we're seeing it here is giving hope that maybe it will also be in the Switch 2 Joy-Con, especially after all of the Joy-Con drift that happened. We can only hope at this point. But hey, if nothing else, seems like your Alarmo shouldn't be drifting in 5 or 6 years. So good news there. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played Pokemon Go in the last 12 months? Okay, 82% say no. 18% though say yes. I said 12 months because if I say like in the last year, people go, oh no, I haven't played it in 2025. But I played it in 2024. It's like, well, okay, go back a full year, 12 months. So I'll just say it that way. But I mean, I was going through the comments, and there were some people who were like, I used to play it all the time and I kind of fell out of it. Some were saying that some of the things that happened in updates, I guess raids or different things that worked for the pandemic stuff where people couldn't go outside, and they took it away. And again, I'm not really caught up on the Pokemon Go meta, so I am kind of relying on you guys to tell me in the comments if there are things that really turned off the community, frustrated the community, and why people were even happy to see that Niantic was moving away from Pokemon Go, even with Scopley coming in to kind of take the reins. So yeah, let me know in the comments. I haven't played Pokemon Go in a long time, but Ryan played it constantly at like too many games, and he plays it to this day now. When we'll talk on Click R3, I feel like I catch him sometimes, get the phone out, and it looks like he's spinning Pokeballs, but can't be 100% sure. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Loomdoom, who says, I know a lot of people want an HD 2D remake of Chrono Trigger, but I personally would like a 3D one. I'd really like to see how that game would translate to 3D. Okay, so here would be my question, okay? Would you trust Square Enix with HD 2D with Chrono Trigger, where basically all the HD 2Ds we've seen for like remakes, Live Alive or whatever, those were much more one-to-one, even Dragon Quest 3, which is an awesome game, but it was more one-to-one, whereas sometimes when you see them go 3D, like, I don't know, Final Fantasy VII Remake, they go off the rails and all of a sudden it's a trilogy and they're ghosts and it's a whole thing there, whereas when we first saw that trailer at E3, we thought we were getting one-to-one Final Fantasy VII in one game, just significantly better in terms of visuals, and maybe change gameplay up somewhat, sure. But, I mean, it's so different now for what the Final Fantasy Remake trilogy is. So, again, how would you want to see Square tackle this? Do you want them to do HD2D and be more one-to-one? Do you think they'll stay one-to-one in 3D, or will they go off the rails with Chrono Trigger again, hoping that they can just generate dollar signs all over the place if they turn it into 3 games? And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card, or maybe you want to check in on Game & Talk as they're getting ready, of course, for the big Switch 2 reveal on April 2nd. They had their podcast yesterday. I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.